Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We're going to work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. If you need any help with anything, you can check out finding-value.com, which is right here. That's where I dive deeper into these sectors, deeper into the companies, and share my opinions about all this. I just released a midweek update today. So if you haven't seen it, you can go online and check it out on that midweek update, and we still have the discount coupon code Mayday going on. So let's dive in here. Let's take a look and see what today has in store for us. We're going to start with the dollar. The dollar is strengthening quite a bit today. It is up 0.5%. A pretty big move for a single daily move, and it looks like we could potentially strengthen further. Are we going to put in the Batman pattern, where we put in a pattern that looks something like this? Hey there, Batman. Maybe, and maybe the slowdown comes in the future after rates go up even more. Could potentially be the case. I don't try to make predictions, guys. I just look where the assets are cheap and to ensure that we don't have a dive bombing to your yield, which generally precedes recessions. So this to me looks like it's pretty strong, and that yields could even advance further to the upside in the short term. The 2-year yield, it's back within this rising wedge, and it's still holding on. It's still, I guess, higher for longer, tracking sideways over this long period of time here. This is the higher for longer movement that I'm talking about. The 10-year moonshotted today. It's up 1.36% on the back of a 1.5% day yesterday. And I think the markets are trying to digest all of these yield increases when I think the market was kind of anticipating rate cuts this year. So we're seeing a lot of strength in yields. Even the 30-year yield's up 1.4%. Pretty strong day, even after the strong day yesterday. And I do think that we're trying to basically price this all in to stocks and bonds and all, or stocks, and maybe even commodities too. TYX TNX ratio is remaining inverted. Been inverted for since about 2022. We've been inverted the entire time. That's up higher for longer, I guess. And we could be inverted for a while longer. So yield curves are inverted. Gold generally starts to front run this uninversion of the yield curve. TLT bond prices down quite a bit today, down 1.21%. And there's the big selling pressure move the past couple of days to the downside. Do we have further downside? I would say yes. If we break below 80, 88, we start breaking below this, we could see further downside. But we'll see over the next couple of trading days what kind of plays out here. And then the 2 and 10, massive uninversion of the yield curve. But that was not with yields going down. That was the 10-year going up and the 2-year remaining flat today. So could this be a retest where we go on up? Again, I don't want to try to jump the gun here, but that could be, and we'll just watch it and see what kind of bounce we get on this support level that we're at. Gold down $20 an ounce. This does look like it wants to extend further to the downside. It is a bearish engulfing pattern today. We've got good selling pressure coming in and no bounce. And I do think with the selling pressure we got today, we could move lower in gold in the short term. Further consolidation and or lower moves in gold in the short term, especially if rates were to continue higher. Silver holding its ground, just moving sideways today. Still looks very good to continue higher. Weird as that sounds. A little bloody nose today. So we'll see if we get that follow through. Platinum down a little bit. We're right on support of the trend line. The trend line is this guy here. We're right on support in the short term, and we'll see if that support holds. This is slightly bearish, and we could see a sideways to slightly lower move in platinum in the short term. Palladium down 2%. It is a bearish engulfing, but we do have a little candlestick at the bottom there. And I do think we're going to go sideways for a while longer here. I think it's going to consolidate for some time. So Palladium's consolidating still, but we had a down day today. XAU to gold ratio down slightly, down 1.15%. But again, I think all of this is still intact. We've broken the trend line for gold and silver mining companies to outperform gold, and I would remain bullish, very bullish. We are on top of patterns in gold and silver, and platinum's trying to get on top of its pattern and stay up there. So that is all bullish in my opinion. The CRB index is just moving sideways today. There we are moving sideways. Still looks all right. It's hanging on. We do have kind of a large selling pressure move here, and we've been kind of working our way on up. We could see this roll back over for one last down selling shot before moving on up. CRB to S&P 500, we're up, where the CRB index is up, outperforming. This could be, I'll just draw it in there, a shoulder, head, shoulder bottoming pattern that we could start to work our way on up from. So the CRB index could outperform the S&P 500 here in the short term, and we are coming from very depressed low levels with a lot of valuation runway ahead of us for commodities to outperform the S&P 500. And that could be a combination of commodities going up and the S&P 500 going down or sideways. So GDX down 2.52% today, but we are still on top of patterns. We need to remain bullish when we're above trend lines and patterns. GDXJ also down today. We've pulled back a little bit from this resistance level that we're hitting. We got to break through this resistance line. It's not really a line, it's a level. It's an area that we're trying to break through and get through and above on top of it. SILJ also down 1.6%, and the momentum is still to the upside. Those aren't big reversal candlesticks yet. So we're still looking okay, and we're just kind of waiting for the right market conditions for gold and silver to advance in and under. Crude oil down 1% today. To me, it looks like we're trying to do a back test here. We could do a little bit of a back test before heading higher, but we've broken yesterday. That trend line is broken yesterday. So I am going to remain bullish in the medium term. The short term, we could have a little bit of a pullback, but medium term and long term, bullish. Looks good. And that has to reverse back below that for me to change my mind. We've got TTF gas. This looks really good. We've got a nice big move, and we have 3 days kind of within a little pattern here, or it's a flag pattern if it keeps continuing lower. So that still looks good. The big selling pressure isn't really getting much follow through these past 2 days. Usually, if it's really bearish, you get big follow through selling candlestick pressure. We're not getting that at this time. Natural gas up 2.7%. Momentum's to the upside still, and it still looks good. It still looks good, and I'm not stating that this is just going to go straight higher. We could consolidate for a while here, but looks like we've come off this bottom. It's kind of slowly working its way on up for nat gas, and I am a very big nat gas bull. I think nat gas is highly underrated at this time for where the price is at. It is very good deal. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, coming right to the corner here. So we're squeezing up on the neckline. We're squeezing up on the neckline. We have a downtrend line right above it, and we want to punch through this. I think it will punch through it, and I think that we will probably see higher interest rates, a higher dollar, and it's going to punch through this downtrend line. We've got OIH also down today. My guess is that we are heading somewhere down here before heading higher. The reason I have that is the big selling pressure moves. There just isn't the big buying pressure in here yet. And I'll change my mind when I start to see big green candlesticks, preferably bullish engulfings or bullish piercings, and I'll say, okay, this looks like it's good to try to turn on higher. But right now, kind of meandering lower with some good selling pressure that's preceded this. So the pressure is still downward at this time. The sellers are still in control. I'll put it that way. Profitable Uranium Trust, looking a little bit weak. We've broken through this trend line to the downside. It kind of came up to do a retest. we're getting a lot of strong selling pressure here. Could we get a short-term pullback in uranium? Kind of looks like it is possible. URA also down a little bit, but we're above support, and that still looks good. We've got URNM also above support, so that's all holding on the equity side. And URNJ is also above support. So that all looks good from that perspective of the equities. URNJ versus URNM is also just floating sideways. We've got TAM slightly lower today, even though we had a little green candlestick here, but that does look like it's trying to break higher. A little bit confusing as silver is launching to the upside, which is a component of solar panels. Copper down 1.6%. And again, we're going to get into a lot of inflation, or not inflation, I'd say interest rate sensitive sectors. Copper has been pretty sensitive to big moves in interest rates. So we've got a pullback here and we're back to support for copper itself. COPX also selling off, and it does look like we could get a consolidation pullback out of copper or COPX. This has had a monster run since November. We went from 31.96 all the way to $53, and a pullback is probably necessary from such a large move. We've got lithium. These are the interest rate sensitive sectors. Lithium's pulling on back. We could see a further retest, maybe all the way back to $36 or so. We've got REMX pulling back. We're down about 1%. Doesn't like these interest rates going on up. We've got the S&P 500's down 0.74%. We have a bearish engulfing here. That still looks like we could roll over here. NASDAQ also bearish engulfing here. We'll see if we get a rollover here if rates continue on up. We've got Russell 2000 that is selling off. We had a big selling pressure candlestick there. And a bearish setup here. The bearish setup is we came up into this corner, broke to the downside, retest, and that generally sells on off. We were also up against resistance of the upper trend line here, where we could see a pullback, maybe more towards the middle or bottom of this pattern, where we've got support underneath us, the long-term support here, like this. So maybe we can squeeze up into this corner here. We've got inflation-sensitive regional bank ETF down. No surprise there. These guys they own a bunch of bonds, and when interest rates go up, bond prices go down, and bank lending is not as favorable as interest rates go up. We also had yield curve. Well, no, the yield curve uninverted. Emerging markets down a little bit. Again, strong dollar, strong yields. So we might get a little bit of a pullback here to support. Same with home builders. Strong yields, strong dollar, doesn't like it. Does not like it. We've got MOO also, which is inflation or interest rate sensitive. Pulling on back, maybe to support again. Iron ore, we are tracking sideways. Still looks good in my opinion. We're still in the pattern. Everything looks intact. It all looks good. We've got nickel moving on up today. That also looks really good for a move higher in nickel. We've got aluminum up 2.2%. It is running, Forrest, run. This thing can move, man. This thing's going. It looks really good. And the aluminum stocks that we're in look pretty dang good. We've got Baltic Dry Index back to support. This looks more or less like iron ore. Iron ore is doing the same thing. It looks like it's ready to launch at some point. Newcastle coal sideways. I am bullish on coal, guys. I think it's going to go up. It's a good entry point for coal companies. And there are good setups in coal. I talked about them in the midweek update here not too long ago. We've got Bitcoin down 1.5%. Still looks bullish to me, guys. I don't see this breaking down yet. It's got to break this trend line here. It's not huge selling pressure. It's just been going sideways here, resting for a potential move higher. Maybe it's waiting for more liquidity to come into the market. They've been flooding this thing. So Ethereum also down a little bit. but it's not the end of the world. We've broken out of this pattern to the upside here, and this could pull back, and we could consolidate and move on up again. So I'm not a huge bull on it yet. We don't have huge selling pressure or big reversal candlesticks with big wicks at the top. It still looks okay. SMCI down 4%, but I would not be worried here yet. It's just tracking sideways in a bull flag above a broken out trend line. So that still looks good that to move higher. NVIDIA, just to look at that, NVIDIA has been ripping to the upside. That still looks good to continue higher as well. Be careful with big gaps like these because they could come on back drastically to fill those gaps and do a retest of the breakout. That is still possible. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you guys like. We did release that midweek update today. So it is on the website. It's uploaded and you can check it out. And we still have the discount coupon code Mayday going on if you're interested. And we've got a 5 p.m. question and answer session on Sunday. So bring your questions. We can go over whatever you like. I don't have anything planned at the moment, but that can change quick if I decide to go over something in the beginning of that question and answer session. All right, guys, that's what I've got for today. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.